And welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show. Excited to be with you here on this Wednesday, and possibility of a Schlegel signing today. We're not actually sure where he's going to be. He's got some family medical things that he's got to be dealing with, and so you know what I said, Bud. You need to take care of that. Your family's important. Make sure that that's number one for you. So one of the things that we're fortunate here in Columbus to have the wonderful OSU Cancer Hospital and the James. So he's going to be dealing with a little bit of that with some of his family. Hopefully he'll be able to pop on here with us. I'm excited, and I think that could be a very fun opportunity. We'll see where he's at. The good news is, though, we're going to have our guy, Mr. Mr. Aaron James Hawk, is going to be joining us. So I'm very excited to be able to see him today. He'll be joining us here, I don't know, in probably about 12 minutes. But as we lean into today, all right, there is it's the portal news that everybody always talks about. And Ohio State's more or less done in the portal, which I feel good about. All the players obviously that have gotten in are already in. That happened as of Friday. They may pull a guy out or two. There's windows still open for Indiana. There's windows still open for Miami. I don't know if anybody's going to get in there for either one of those two teams that would be worth Ohio State taking a look at. But when we start looking at like the objectives of Ohio State, what were they trying to do in the portal? What positions were positions of need based upon who was going to the NFL, what guys had ultimately left, and where some of that was ultimately heading, and how Ryan Day was going to build that. Plus, we've got some of the offensive coordinator position is still vacant. Is that an internal fill? Is that an external fill? Well, you want to get through the portal first before you start looking at all of that. And so we'll talk a little bit about some of the news and some of the potential candidates people have been throwing out there in the media. I don't know how real any of those necessarily are from a standpoint that they've scheduled interviews or anything. I think Brian's going to begin that process next week and how that looks and what they're trying to do. With it, I did talk to Austin Ward, my guy over on the Buckeye beat with him in Berm, and it's good. Some good information, some things that he had. That sometimes you need to ask a follow-up on questions. Sometimes you don't. And I get into a little bit of that coaching situation, but it seems like Ohio State's done with the portal right now. Currently, you got coaches out on the road, and what they are doing is they're looking at some of the high school guys that will be coming down the pike here for the 2026 signing class, or 2027, however you look at it. 2027 graduates. All these guys usually enroll early. We'll see what the calendar looks like, if there's any changes to it, because right now those guys commit in 26, but it was always historically they call them the 27s, given that that's when they're going to graduate. So they're wrapping that up, getting some of that. So you've got guys out on the road trying to figure out who the likely targets are, who they feel good about. Some of the guys are committed, what the financial narrative is going to be on that. Because some of the guys, if it only comes down to money, okay, well, we know that now. That's part of it. But the biggest piece is going and talking to them now doesn't necessarily make that big of a difference. From what I've kind of ascertained, the things that they care about, getting on campus, seeing what that looks like, seeing what the practices look like, what the training looks like, the stadium, playing in front of full fans. So for Ohio State, you see the stadium in person, you watch it on TV, it's always full, but you see it there. And then finally, the last piece is you got to like what you hear from the GM Mark Pantoni of how they evaluate guys and what buckets they're putting them in as far as positional value, how good they are relative to their position, and how quickly they're expected to play. So all of those things kind of come into this and play into that. And so that's what Ohio State is doing this week and trying to wrap all that up. So you've got the travel, you've got coaches out there, and hoping that's all going to be done and everybody's through and they've got everybody through. And the other thing is the portal is getting guys into school. I mean, they've started school. You've got to get them in. They have to be on track as per the NCAA to graduate. And there are certain requirements that you have to have. And I remember they updated this 10 or 15 years ago. I think maybe at the end of my career. And then they did another iteration to it about how you have to have so many degree credits per year that you play. So going into your final season at school, you're within striking distance of graduating from your degree. And so you just can't meander around and take a lot of classes. And there's no Tommy boys out there. There's no big Tom Callahans cruising around that are going to be in school for 7 years due to their inability to get on a course pathway to graduate. Now, are you graduating with a meaningful degree in something you want to? If you transferred 4 times, it's going to be really hard to be able to have all those credits transfer and to be in a degree program that you value and you think is important and is big time. So all of that stuff kind of wraps into it. So that's what they're doing this week. But Mark Cuban, big Indiana alum. And, it's funny. IU basketball hasn't really been great in 20 years. They had the one run with Zeller and Oladipo, and they were the number 1 overall seed. They got to the Sweet 16 and got bounced. Outside of that, they've been a tournament team, never really done a whole lot. They played in the final, I believe, in 2001, maybe the year after Michigan State did or the year prior, didn't ultimately win it. So it's been quite a while. But everybody got on board for football this year because they won a lot of games last year, and they're getting on board for football even more. But how they constructed this team, and we'll begin to break this down and take a look at this Indiana model and what that looks like, and is that the future? And so as we go and listen to Mark Cuban, you talk about paying guys, and there's a big narrative out here that Ohio State, they were cheap, they didn't want to pay guys, everything. It's not paying guys, it's paying the right guys the appropriate sum so that your roster can be filled out the way that you want it, and you have OKGs. What's an OKG? Our kind of guy. You want to make sure you have the right type of guys on the team. You look at Indiana, they were all transfers. They didn't play like a group of paid mercenaries. You see some teams that they put together a big transfer class, and they look like a bunch of paid mercenaries out there. And yeah, they may be good, but do they play with passion? Do they have, the connectivity that allows you to ultimately win those big games and not fall short in the biggest moments? You got to have guys that have a high degree of buy-in. And when they buy in, then they're buying in with everybody, and all that's going to work well. And that's a huge piece and part of it. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to listen to a little snippet, Pat, of our guy Cuban. And it's really interesting what he said after the national championship, talking about paying guys and what that ultimately looks like. So if you can throw this up and play this, it'd be terrific, Pat. Go ahead.
Spending, overpaying, and then you're in a situation of where you're not getting that return on investment, or you lose the blue-collar element of your program.
For sure. It's a great question. I talked to Scott Dolson, who should be AD of the year on the planet, and we talked about that specific thing. The minute you start chasing the most expensive people coming out of the portal, you lose your identity. You lose your culture, because every other guy who came into the program sees that. Why are they chasing him and bidding him up, and they didn't do that for me? Why is it now about 5 stars as opposed to the blue-collar, hardworking guys? You guys have to know their roles.
Yes.
And they have to be excited to come to work every single day. And it's literally work now because they're getting paid. And so you got to know how that fits. If you don't understand that, your program's not going to work.
Unbelievable. When you hear that, that's a guy who was an owner of an NBA team for a long time, had superstars on his team, won an NBA championship, played for another. It's a guy who understands that, number one, he's putting his dollars out there where it matters, that they're helping to pay those guys through his dollars. But that's what I've been trying to preach, is when you start chasing and throwing bags of money at certain guys, the guys had better be worth it, because it goes back to the old adage, you can't fool the room. And if you pay somebody a ton and you realize that, well, they're not that much better than this guy you already have, or maybe they're the same type of player, you better be ready to justify that to your locker room. Those guys have to feel justified that how much you spent on other players is worthy to them, or else they're going to start questioning, like, well, they told me I wasn't worth any more, and now we get out here and we're practicing, and I'm just as good, if not better, than this guy. And that creates some of that dysfunction. Jeremiah Smith, his recruitment was widely publicized. So was Chris Henry's this year. His drug on a little bit. Jeremiah's drug on a little bit throughout the day. I don't know if you remember the famous scene with Ryan Day kind of faux collapsing when he was sitting there standing there at the podium talking about everything, and they come in, they're like, hey, Jeremiah Smith just committed. And you're like, signed his papers. We got his papers. We're good. So with that, he was the number one wide receiver in the country, probably the number one player, one of the top 5 players in the country, and people that I respect who evaluate high school football and have been doing it for 20 years on the recruiting level said he's the best prospect that they've ever seen. Or in like an Adrian, someone said he's Adrian Peterson at wide receiver, like ready to come in and play and be an all-conference player, fringe All-American his freshman year. I'm like, come on, man. I played with Maurice Claret. Like he goes, I'm telling you, he'll be even better than that. Okay. They paid him a lot. How much? I don't know. They paid him a lot. And so when he gets here, everybody's eyes are fixated on this dude. Number one, he better look the part walking in the door. Number two, he better go out there and be balling on the field. And the third part of it is, if those first 2 are good, you get a little leeway on the third. You want that guy to be a great dude because you are what you emphasize. And if you're going to be paying those guys, top flight guys, big money like that, you want them to be the standard bearers for the program. You want those guys to be the ones out there that you can always point to and look to and say, hey, if you do it right, this is what we'll do for you. This is how we'll take care of you. And that's what Ohio State has tried to do. That's the most successful professional franchises that do that. And let's make no mistake about it. Mark Cuban said it. I mean, he said these guys are going to work. They're getting paid, so it's now a job. So they go to work. And the most successful franchises out there take care of their guys in the right way. And when you pay the right guys that do the right things, that's emphasizing it in the most demonstrative way possible to the rest of your team and your locker room. The guys who are on the team, the guys who are not yet on the team, who maybe want to come there, from high school players to transfer portal players. And so you've got to make sure you pay the right guys. And if they get there and they don't like the number they hear and say, okay, well, let's talk a little bit about what it looks like. And I understand, folks, you're throwing in there, Neil, Mark Cuban's a bandwagon fan. He attended 0 football games when he was a student, just attends now. They're good. Hey, Neil, nobody went to Indiana football games for 40 years, really. And I don't really blame them. You know why? Because the school didn't put any emphasis on it. They didn't try to put a good product out there. And so you can criticize Mark Cuban for it, maybe a bandwagon fan, but he's also writing checks. So he's not just attending games. He's a part of it. And so you can dislike him as a dude and say he's a bandwagon fan. Well, you know what? If Ohio Stadium was empty for 10 years, you start asking yourself the question, why? Well, the reason probably why is the team wasn't very good. Team is always pretty good. So it's easy to be a fan of something when you're winning. There were people that went to Indiana games when they lost. Not many. But they were never any good. They weren't even really all that competitive. They had blips here and there. And Kevin Wilson did a pretty good job with his time. Tom Allen put together a nice little run. I mean, they've had some moments, but they were never a team that really just instilled a lot of confidence. And you weren't a team that went out there and played hard. It was mostly a joke for a lot of it. And now that they're different, people are showing up. And I credit that. And I bet they'll show up next year. And they'll show up as long as they keep winning. And then one day when you've won long enough, then the people it becomes a pattern. It becomes a routine. It becomes something generational. They've never had that. They've never had any of that. And so I give them a little more grace because they were the joke that Ohio State always played. I say they were always our homecoming game. It's a game that you knew as a young guy, you better get some sleep the night before and you better be ready to go because you're going to get some reps. There's a chance to go get some tackles on defense, chance to get some yards on offense. So that's how Indiana's building their program. That's how they build it. That's how a lot of the good programs have done it. That's the model for any professional organization or where you're paying guys. You got to pay the right guys to be able to look at that. All right, we're long for a break here. We're going to get Schlegs to join us here, not after too long. But coming up next, we got our guy, Mr. Aaron James Hawk. He was down there at the game on the sidelines, patrolling with Pat McAfee, looking at these guys, making great comments, talking about how important the halftime speeches are, how he loved a good pump-up speech. We'll ask him about that here next. But you know how fast NFL game days move. One big play, everything changes. That's why live betting on FanDuel, it's a game changer. With FanDuel, you can bet in real time while the game unfolds. Score just flipped, jump on a new spread, or ride the live money line. That receiver's heating up, Bet the next touchdown score or total yards. Think that drive stalls in the red zone? Take a live field goal prop or fade the total. Live player props, team totals, drive results, updated spreads, next play markets. It's all there. It's fast. It's fun. And with FanDuel, your live bets move as quickly as the game does. So whether you're riding the momentum or fading the hype, FanDuel will put you right in the middle of every moment. Must be 21 or older and present in Ohio, 21 or older and present in Pennsylvania. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. AJ Hawk joins the program next. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and doesn't taste like I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer. Welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. And now, I don't have Schlegs. I don't have a cool Hawk call like Schlegs, but we're going to call in our guy, Mr. Aaron James Hawk, to the program. There he is. AJ, how was the travel? How are we feeling? Like we finally rejuvenated, rested a little bit from a long 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, the college football playoff run was awesome. I got to be a part of every step of it. Yeah, it's what a game Monday night, though. Yeah, I was lucky enough to be there in the end zone watching the whole game, and what just a back and forth battle. Both those teams were awesome, man. But yeah, credit to Indiana for holding on and finding a way to make enough plays to get a win, because that thing is it's a special situation going on in Indiana right now with Coach Cignetti, that's for sure.
So Indiana, obviously 0 5-stars coming in. Miami, a lot of highly recruited guys, big time players. Kind of, the tale of two cities. It's like the Centerville Elks versus the Wayne Warriors out there, circa like late 90s, early 2000s. Looking at Indiana, looking at Miami, you've watched both of those teams play before, been around it. Difference in rosters, like when you look at those guys play on the field, was there a physical difference that you could see?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Miami's gigantic. Their O-line is ginormous. Everywhere you look, their D-line is huge. I mean, even their linebackers, they're big at every level. I feel like they're just a huge, physical, fast team. At Indiana, I guess maybe if you look at them like side by side, yeah, they don't stack up physically, but that's the thing. Like they found a way to go 16-0. Like somehow they may not have had like the physical advantage, at least of size, but man, they are fast and physical and super disciplined too, offense and defense. They never let up. They never like let it slip. I think a lot of people felt like even throughout the whole season, okay, yeah, let's see how they do against this team or this next team or whoever they're going to play. And Indiana just never blinked, man. It's credit to those kids on the team and all the coaches, obviously. But yeah, they just continued to make the plays that they needed to, like when they needed to. I mean, what block punt for a touchdown in the national championship? Like you do that, your chances of winning that game go up drastically.
Absolutely. And those big plays, Tress always said the punt was the most important play in football. There was only one turnover, and it was the last play of the game until the knee. So that block punt, I mean, that's it. I always tell people, you get a interception or fumble return for a touchdown, punt return or kickoff return, or you have like a blocked punt. I mean, those are all counted the same, and it's really hard to overcome those. And you look at the statistics of trying to win, it's very difficult. And that seemed like Indiana, that kept them in there, because they did a great job in the first half of slowing down Miami. But talk about that second half, or really the fourth quarter. You went from not a lot of scoring in the first half to all of a sudden, I think there was touchdowns on like 4 or 5 straight possessions from both teams, and like just how the shift in the game happened.
Yeah, the momentum was crazy. Obviously, there was I don't know what the fan split would have been. I mean, definitely, I think at least 50-50, maybe 60-40 Indiana fans to Miami fans. I don't know. Maybe it was pretty close to 50-50. But the way that these teams can answer, in these big games, you feel like there's possessions in the second quarter where you're thinking like, all right, this is it. This is the game. They need to sustain a drive here and get points on the board, like for whatever team. You think like when it's that elevated of a game and like so much is on the line, it feels like every single snap, there's just drastic consequences one way or the other. So the fourth quarter, and especially the second half, watching how each team would answer. Like, yeah, they scored. Oh, okay, hey, here we go. We're going to come back, have a few explosive plays or long drive and score. And it was it was just impressive because national championship games a lot of times have hype leading up to them. This one like exceeded the hype. I feel like the actual game was awesome.
It felt like Miami had like this unbelievable tidal wave in the second half and in that fourth quarter, and Indiana just kept, fighting to stave it off. I watched Boston Connor celebrating as the ball hit the upright at halftime, like underneath, like jumping out. And I don't know if you guys were in that end zone or not. Were you in the end zone for Mendoza's draw, or was that at the other end?
That was the other side. Yeah, I was right in the end zone where the block punt touchdown happened right in front of me.
Gosh, yeah, that's great. That draw, though, Age, I mean, I know you probably saw on the Jumbotron, you got a little feed right there for you. I mean, for a guy who's kind of an awkward runner, but he's a good athlete, I mean, that you have to argue. I mean, that until the interception, that's got to be the play of the game.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, he was getting smoked all day. Like Miami was hitting him from the. You saw Coach Signetti get super mad early on when they're hitting Fernando when he's carrying out a fake, stuff like that. Like they were getting after him. Like Fernando is a tough dude because that draw, not only so the whole thing leading up to it, they come out and all of a sudden, okay, here we go, boom, they call a timeout and we think they may be kicking a field goal. You don't know. And then all of a sudden Fernando comes back out and I'm like, oh my goodness, you guys are running a draw on 4th and 5 here, like with the game on the line. And Fernando has he has a crazy jump cut. That was just an awesome cut. And then I don't know how he stayed up after all that initial contact. And then, throws his body with the ball over the line and everything. And you see him kind of collapse on the sideline afterwards. It just, that's one of those things that it's like the whole, John Elway doing the old spinaroo 360 back in the day. It's like one of those plays that you're going to watch for the next 50 years and be like, geez, that was a special time in college football.
Yeah, it was. It was really, really impressive. I know coming out at halftime, Pat was asking about those big halftime speeches. You were a guy that always loved a good rah-rah speech, Age. I mean, talk about how fired up you probably would have got right there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think halftime adjustments are as I guess sometimes are overblown, maybe. I think what people say, but I guess pregame speeches are ones I don't hate. I don't dislike them. There's definitely great ones out there, but it's tough to be good at that. It's tough to have a coach or a player get up and say something before a game because I would just think, hey man, it's the national championship. Like if you need me to say something to you, if I got to show you a highlight film to get all jacked up, then I don't think you're the right guy for the job. So I don't think you need them. They're a little overblown, but halftime, sometimes though, the coach can wake a team up maybe if they're sleepy or kind of get them going in the right direction. If say you're getting smoked or something and a coach comes in and either gets after you or does something, says something that clicks, it can help maybe at halftime. But, as far as adjustments too, like I don't think a whole lot's happening during that time.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember some of our speeches that guys would give when we were young, and like Donnie Nicky before the national championship game out there. And it was after like our team dinner, our captain's talk. And it was basically that. I mean, he flipped the tray over, but like if you're not ready to play, don't get on the bus. Like I've never understood a big pregame speech. Okay, if coach wants to give it, but you're playing for a national championship. Like everything that has needed to be said has already been said. And Curt Cignetti doesn't really even strike me as a guy that's one of those type of dudes anyway.
Yeah, I do wonder what it's like. I wonder what he's doing the whole game when he just like he's stomping around the sidelines, walking out around the huddles during timeouts. Like he's always observing, always watching. That never seems happy or satisfied in the sideline, which is awesome, which is why Indiana is so good because he's been on them and kept them motivated and kept them focused the whole year. But yeah, I would like to see him mic'd up sometime. I'd like to know what he's saying over there to the refs, to the players, to everything. And at halftime, I do wonder what I'm not sure, but whatever he is saying, he's getting the most out of his guys because they seem to buy in 100% and they execute it all year long.
Seeing Michael Irvin now, the fact that they had a parody of him on SNL, which was absolutely unbelievable. Have you seen that, by the way?
Oh, yeah, I saw it. Yeah, it's great.
I mean, the guy did a strikingly good job. I mean, he looked like Michael Irvin about 20 years ago. And I think that's when you finally crossed the Rubicon, jumped the shark into now everybody's looking for you during the game. I mean, I'm sure it's been a long time since Miami played that national championship, since we were out there, almost 25 years ago. What was he like during the game? I know you watch him just stalk around, and I didn't realize he was even mic'd up. Like he's
got his YouTube guys. He's been whenever we'd see him at the games, he's got his little YouTube clipped mic on there, and he's got his guy filming him. So I know he puts that out, I guess, on his own stuff of just following him around. I need to go check it out because it would be awesome to see. Hopefully they follow him throughout the whole day. But yeah, I didn't see him as much this time of the national championship game. He walked out. He was at the coin toss, but this time was like almost like when we played, like you said, 25 years ago, Bob. There was, I'm sure they showed him a bunch, like all the Miami alumni that were on the field, all just like the who's who of college and pro athletes that over there. And that was it's cool to always see those guys and see them supporting how much pride I guess they have in their school.
It is. Like, how intimidating is that? I remember when we looked out there, Ohio State, we're coming off the 90s. So you had like Eddie and Pace. And, I remember seeing all those guys out there and how big of a deal. David Boston, who I thought was Ray Lewis at first because he was so big. He had that sweet, I'll never forget it, the sweet light blue velour jumpsuit on. But I mean, Miami, like you said, that's something that's ultra intimidating. Now, maybe they don't have the guys recently, but you go back into the 90s and 2000s. I mean, my goodness, like it's a who's who of Hall of Fame, like all pro and Hall of Famers. And I mean, I'm looking at Indiana, AJ, for the life of me, I can't really remember like a great NFL player that played at Indiana.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's going to be changing. Obviously with Cignetti, you would think, but yeah, it's like the history of both teams. Yeah. It couldn't be, more different, I guess, than one another. And now Indiana faces them in the biggest stage and beats them, which is nuts. I did see Trent Green over there. Trent Green, I guess, has their last bowl win, right?
Trent Green, I forgot about that.
He's a good dude. I talked to him. I was walking around pregame and I saw him on the Indiana sideline, went up and talked to him. And yeah, the dude's in great shape, looks awesome, and like the nicest dude ever. And he was so juiced, like so he's like looking, I'm sitting there talking to him. He's watching Coach Cignetti walk up and down, and he's like, and Trent just looks at me as, yeah, he's pretty intense. Like, yep, I know, I can tell that, Trent. He's pretty damn good.
Oh, Trent was the best. I remember I didn't realize that, and we're going through a scouting report, and I think he was with the Chiefs, maybe Rams. I'm trying to think where he was when we played, like at the end of his career. I'm like, this guy went to Indiana, like Trent Green. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I don't remember anybody of note going to Indiana. I want to. We're going to throw this up, H, because listen, I know that you're busy, but I think this could be you at some point in time. Like if Ryan Day said, listen, H, I know you go to all the games. You're a guy that's got a lot of passion and intensity. Do you think you could do what Michael Irvin does for a whole game?
No, I think there's one Michael Irvin on this planet as a football player and as a human, and that guy is special. He is unbelievable. It's real. Like if there was zero fans in the crowd and he didn't have any cameras following him or finding him, I believe he would be doing the exact same thing, like getting in the huddle, talking to guys, during timeouts, everything. I would imagine, imagine being a player on that team and knowing how much that dude cares about it, thinking, all right, well, yeah, like this is obviously something super special to be a part of. I need to make sure I hold up my end of the bargain. So it can only help. And I think Cristobal has been super open and honest and saying he loves having Irvin around. I hope he's there for the next 20 years, storming the sidelines with those guys.
Assuming he's still alive.
Yeah. Looks great.
I think he's 59.
Is he really? He looks awesome.
I'm telling you, I looked it up because, hey, you got to think he came in the league in 88.
Jeez.
I mean, so
yeah.
88. I want to say 89 maybe was his first year, maybe when he got in the league. It was something like that. So you start doing the math. I'm like, this dude came in the league 3 years after my dad. He's closer, I think, to my dad's age than he is to ours. And my dad's 70. So I think he's like 11 years away from my dad, like 15, 16 away from us. And I'm thinking, I don't know anybody else who's almost 60 years old or anybody that when they were 60 could do that. Maybe like Galloway's the only dude I know that maybe looks like he's in good enough shape to be able to like physically handle that burden. But most guys, I mean, they would have to take a nap at halftime if they tried that for even a half.
Oh yeah, and like 2 weeks ago, Irvin had come from who was fighting the night before. He was in Miami watching the fight the night before, and then flew that next morning to the Texas A&M Miami game. I forget who was fighting back then. Was it Jake Paul? Yeah, I believe Jake Paul fight. He was at the Jake Paul fight Friday night. Flies to A&M Miami the next day, and the dude is on the sidelines going crazy and getting his belt out and finding a jersey, an A&M jersey after the game. Like, yeah, he lives it. I would imagine he's there on if he's in town and he doesn't have a whole lot going on, he's stopping in the facility, getting a workout in, really rallying the troops and getting the boys going.
Oh, for sure. It's the only way you can look like that. Final question before we get you out of here. Appreciate the time as well today, man. You think Indiana is here to stay? Like, are they going to be, I don't know about a top 5 program every year, but do you think they're one of those programs that we look at in the Big Ten moving forward that you put up there with Ohio State, with Michigan, USC, who came in, Penn State, Oregon? Like, is Indiana now that 6th team where you say, hey, if they lose more than 3 games, like, that's not a good year?
Oh, yeah. I think going into the season, I wasn't really sure because I knew after Sig's first season, I'm thinking, like, this is awesome what this guy has been able to do. But, like, how do you sustain that? How do you continue through the portal and all this? How do you continue to get these guys? But, yeah, I absolutely believe him now. I mean, you go out there and you go 16-0. I think you answer a lot of questions. And he's whatever he's doing, obviously, when he gets the guys on campus, they do a great job of teaching and developing and putting those guys in their system. But they just know how to evaluate them. I think they know, like, the guys that are going to work, because just because you have money to pay players doesn't mean it's going to work. You have to find the right players, bring them in and coach them up. And whatever he's doing, he has the right formula for finding the guys that will fit that system and fit and buy into everything he's doing. So, yeah, I don't think he's slowing down anytime soon.
I think there is one guy that could probably do it for Ohio State, Schleiks, or AJ. He was always so full of juice. Not a football player, but he did help coach the football team, a guy that you and I know, and our guy Olin, who's in the chat, Mr. Butch Reynolds, who had tons of energy all the time, always just bouncing around. So maybe Butch Reynolds could kind of be our Michael Irvin, just always full of energy down there.
Oh, doing like A's and B's, doing skipping on the sideline too. You know how perfect Butch's form was, and he's still so fast. So yeah, I think Butch. Yeah, we need Butch on the sidelines now next year for sure.
That'd be a win. We'll have to get him back there. Age, we appreciate the time, sir. Enjoy it. Try to relax a little bit. I mean, are you guys going out to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, we'll be out there during the week for Radio Row.
Is that the last time you have to travel for a while then?
Yeah, probably for a while, I would think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's exciting. Well,
yeah,
enjoy that. We'll catch up with you soon, man. Have a good time out there, and can't wait to see you out there cruising around the Super Bowl and everything you got going on.
All right. Sounds good. I'll see you, man.
There he is, Mr. Aaron James Hawk, one of the best. And a quick program note, Michael Irvin turns 60 on March 5th. So kudos to him. Great job right there. Attention, parents, athletes, protect what matters most with Export mouth guards, trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. Export mouth guards are scientifically tested to help absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. Export mouth guards feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including a patented use of carbon fiber. They custom print that bad boy to your own smile with 3D printed technology for more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication. That way you focus on your game, not your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Visit exportguards.com/Bobby today and save 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most. Got more with the Bobby Carpenter Show and Ohio State coaching rumors coming up next. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. Welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and excited to be in here with you. We did a great job with our guy AJ right there. Wanted to dive into this a little bit. Some of the coaching potential rumors at Ohio State. Now, before we get all the way to the offensive side, I know everybody was worried about Matty P. I feel pretty good. Like it's a strong chance that he's going to be staying here. I won't feel great until every coaching job is locked up. Every head job, I know who the head coach is. I know who their coordinators are going to be subsequently. And when those spots are filled, especially a few key ones, I'll feel even better about it, just knowing his relationship with some of the different guys. And I know there's certain places that he maybe doesn't want to go. There's other places, that are maybe more appealing. And I know Ohio State is going to do everything in their power to ultimately try to keep him. But the NFL, like I said, if they really want to go hard, they can go hard as well, in a big, big way, and try to bring him in. But looking at the other side of the ball, Brian Hartline was the OC. co-OC the year prior with Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly came back, or Chip Kelly ultimately left, went to the Raiders, was fired mid-season. They paid him a ton of cash, $6 million a year for 3 years, which was all guaranteed. And so, gosh, you can't compete with that as a college. I don't care who you are. Like, you're trying to pay your quarterback $6 million. Your head coaches, some of those head coaches are making $8 or $9 million. Your coordinator, no matter how good they are, you can't pay them that much, especially locking them up on a 3-year deal where it's all guaranteed. So he leaves for that, but they fire him because in the NFL, they print money. And so, okay, we're going to fire you, and then we're going to fire Pete at the end of the season, wipe everybody out of there. And they make the move to fire Chip Kelly. And I think a lot of people viewed, me included, as one that, hey, maybe he'll come back. Maybe he'll help out in the playoff, even in more of an advisory role. And then especially when Hartline, the news comes about him taking the South Florida job, it's like, okay, maybe that would be a smooth transition. The guys have coached together. Ryan and him are very familiar with each other. They have a really good relationship and had a lot of success the year before to the tune of winning a national championship. And then that didn't happen. And then you see that Chip Kelly was interviewing for Georgia Tech, and you're sitting there thinking, okay, maybe they haven't gotten around to it yet. Well, then he ultimately gets hired by Northwestern. And Ryan was asked about that by, I think, Austin Ward in one of the press availabilities, if there's any consideration or thought or with Chip Kelly. And it was just a very succinct and short answer. It was no. The fact that he didn't elaborate on it means that probably, I don't think there was bad blood, but you know what? Maybe it was time to move on. And that wasn't something he was really willing to discuss publicly. And so when the brevity's in the answer, I always tell people, then sometimes the follow-up isn't needed because they're not going to give you anything. What they're going to give you when you ask kind of an open-ended question that you could always elaborate on, and a coach chooses not to, you ask him again, he'll say, we're just going to keep those decisions ultimately in-house and not going to move forward. But toss this up, Pat. This is something that people have thrown out. I don't know that there's any smoke to any of this. People always say, oh, there's a lot of smoke around these hires. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I haven't fully dove in and taken a look at where they're going to potentially go. I think a lot of this is going to start happening next week, whether it's internally or externally, of what they could do. But a lot of people want to see JT Barrett come back. He was the QB. He was under Ben Johnson in Detroit last year. He was with Dan Campbell and those guys down in New Orleans. He got on the staff with Sean Payton, who is a great coach, by the way, follows Dan, goes to Detroit, works his way up. Now he's with Ben Johnson and their offense, which has been really good, learning some of that, the intricacies of that offense that everybody thinks is great with the Chicago Bears and was great with the Detroit Lions. But I don't know that he's somebody that's in the consideration. Not that I don't want him in the consideration. I just don't necessarily know that he's there. Other people, like tight end coach Keenan Bailey, he moved upstairs. He was probably a little more involved in some of the play calling with Miami, even though Ryan took it over and Hartline moved down, just to kind of have that relationship. And Keenan's been here a long time. He was a wide receivers coach under Hart, helping him as an assistant, takes over the tight end's job. I know Ryan trusts him, doesn't have maybe that experience. And so that's one of the things of Ryan has to kind of figure out what are you looking for? And I know he probably has a list of things of like, I would like my coordinator to have all of these. And Chip Kelly had them all, starting with head coaching experience, college and NFL. So he knew what it was like to own the decisions that you ultimately had to make. They had an offense that kind of fit together that was congruent. He was a guy that, like I said, had NFL experience at some degree as part of that, but head coaching and then NFL experience was big. He had a good relationship with Ryan, and he was available and willing to come, which was the biggest part. Now, I think there was a buyout that ultimately had to come through and get that taken care of with him. And so that was a piece of it that was ultimately going to happen. But all of those things made it work. Other people that are potentially out there, so JT Barrett has some of that NFL experience, doesn't necessarily have coordinating experience yet. Baltimore Ravens OC Todd Monken. Now, John Harbaugh just got hired with the Giants. He's filling out his staff. Does Monken go with him to the Giants? Does he want to go back to college? Like, those are questions you've got to ultimately ask yourself. And Monken, I believe, was in Georgia and has a lot of college experience as well. But then, has been up in Baltimore here for a little bit with John Harbaugh. Is that somewhere that he wants to go? Staying in college and going for someone that's maybe an up-and-comer here that on a really good program, Indiana co-coordinator Chandler Whitmer. So he was helping co-coordinate that offense. Just won a national championship. They do a great job calling plays. What's his knowledge? What was his involvement? How important was he in the whole process? Well, I mean, that's a deal. And then ultimately someone that people have thrown out to, which would be the big sexy hire, and probably more of a splash nationally than JT Barrett, although I think he would be the hometown favorite, if you will, the Buckeye Nation favorite, was Commanders' ex-offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. Guy was head coach at Texas Tech, head coach at Arizona. He's got coordinating experience in the NFL and in college. He was with that McVay tree, innovative offensive mind. How the question I'm not completely certain of what he does, how will that mesh with maybe the terminology and what Ryan has already done at Ohio State? And so those are questions there. And that's just a short list that, people have kind of thrown out there. And maybe JT Barrett's like just a little too early. He's maybe not ripe yet. Maybe in a year or two after more quarterback coaching in the NFL, maybe you feel like he would be a little more ready. Maybe he's ready right now. I don't know. All those other guys are a little more experienced outside of Keenan Bailey. So a lot of stuff there. We'll keep you posted and keep that up to date as we move along and how that's looking. I want to tell you about our friends over at Backer, though, bckr.com. Brand new gear that you're going to find from fans. Go check them out, bckr.com. It has the functionality and the feel that you're looking for. It's better quality fan gear. The stuff you have is nice. It looks good. It feels good. It wears really well, just like that high-end skiing, fishing, golf, hunting apparel. It has it all for you. So go to the website, bckr.com. Use promo code all caps Bobby at checkout. Get an additional 10% off. That's Backer, BCKR. Go check them out. We got our Tailgate Talk, where we answer your questions, coming up next. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and doesn't taste like I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. All right, welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show. Watching this, our headlines. Sorry, I lied to you. It's not Tailgate Talk. We got one more segment before that. But just amazing here when we talk about Indiana. And Ohio State's been good forever. They've had multiple coaches, Paul Brown, Woody Hayes, Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer, Ryan Day, all win national championships. The last four coaches, Ryan Day is going to be in as well. Since going back to Woody Hayes, are all in the College Football Hall of Fame. Urban, I think, is in. If he's not in yet, he's getting in for sure. Tress, Cooper, Earl Bruce, all those guys are in there. But Indiana, first time in 132 years, we can toss that up, Pat. First time in 132 years, there's been a college football team go 16-0. Number one, because they don't play that many games, and no one's played that many since back in the day when they just – who knows? They're probably playing midweek games, couple games a week, and everything else. But for them to join Yale as the only 16-0 teams in major college football. Now, it is important to note, North Dakota State also went 16-0 in the FCS in 2019 because they've always had that tournament. They've always had more games. But the ability to run the table in the regular season, and it wasn't like their conference championship game was for nothing. They beat Ohio State, who was the number one team in the country. And then for Indiana to then turn around, smoke Alabama, smoke Oregon, and barely not cover the spread against Miami. I think it was 7.5 people got it, maybe 8.5. They're at 6, but really did everything in a very big way. And so the first time in a number of years, number meaning 132, that happened. Very impressive. Ohio State was the first team to go 14-0. In the modern era, which is post-World War II. I would say after Woody Hayes, 1951 is where I'd say Ohio State football, that's the big push, the last 75, what that has ultimately looked like. But congratulations to Indiana getting that done. And we'll see if anyone else, I don't know if it's possible to go 18 or 17-0 because of the potential bye. Like if you're doing that, but if they go to 16-team slate, that 17-0 will become a reality at some point in time in the future. All right, that's our headlines. Coming up next, get your questions ready as we'll fire away and answer those questions in your tailgate talk here coming up next. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. All right, now we get our tailgate talk. We're going to answer your questions. Someone just threw in there, is Chip Kelly not an option coming back? I mean, Ryan Day said no when he was asked about it earlier. He took the job at Northwestern, so I don't anticipate him coming back. I don't know what his contract looks like, but there'd probably be some level of buyout. And if Ohio State really wanted him, they would have been able to get him and procure him in that and bring him in. Like that wouldn't have been an issue, and they chose to pass on that. Now maybe they circle back around, but I'm not against it. My man Olin did put this in the chat. A game has been dropped. The Big Ten is going to do their schedule release, I believe, next week, so we'll get a chance to kind of see where everybody's ultimately at there. But they did announce you will have a rematch of the Big Ten championship game in Bloomington, October 16th, 2026. So this coming year, October 16th, going to Indiana. And hell, I wish that game, I never really cared where the Indiana game was, but I wish that game was in Columbus. But you got the Michigan game at home, Texas game on the road. You've got Indiana. You've got Oregon, who I think is coming in as well. I think USC is going to be on the road. So you got 5 huge games, 3 of them on the road. Indiana, quick road trip. It's going to be tough to get tickets. And that was always the Buckeyes' haven, because everybody from Dayton, I think, and Cincinnati, heck, it's only a couple hours from Columbus, would head down to Bloomington as well. Roger's pointing out, Maddie looks at the new roster with possible apprehension. Throw that up, Pat. You know what's interesting about that, E-Raj, is Patricia helped build a lot of this roster in the portal. And the guys that they got, and the guys that they all brought in, were specific of need of scheme and stuff that he wants to do. So I don't think there's any roster apprehension for him as far as what they've got, especially guys in the front. They got a lot more veteran in the back end, and we'll talk tomorrow. We ran out of time today about the experience and the number of starts and how that ultimately looks. And I think everybody's going to really like what they see when it comes to that. But Matt, the guys that were there, I mean, he's signing off on everybody they're bringing in. Some of the guys that left, or maybe guys that were really good football players and could have been good, but maybe just not the best schematic fits for this roster as well, or this scheme as well. So could they be good? Yes. In it, are they perfect for it? Well, maybe you want a different body type or something else. So that's a big deal with it. Neil's saying need a run game and red zone expert. Chip Kelly is a run game expert. He was really stinking good in that. So I don't disagree. To help bolster the run game, some of it, you got a lot of the offensive line returning. So the left side was good. Right side, can Phillip Daniels improve? Can you get that right guard spot hammered down? And now ultimately Bo Jackson, you'll go to a little earlier in the season, and Isaiah West, you'll lean in him a little bit earlier as well. Those guys now have had more reps, had more experience. They'll be ready to go more at the start of the season. I love that we're already excited for the start of the next season. And I am too, but my goodness, I need to take a nap and take a break here. We still got the Super Bowl coming up, and you're still got to finish the portal. Next thing you know, we'll be on the Buckeye cruise, and before long, poof, David Copperfield, like they're going to be in spring ball, and spring ball leads the summer. It will go fast. I promise you. It always seems slow, but with everything that's going on now, it has picked up in a big, big way. So we'll take a quick break right now, and we'll come back. Schlegs isn't here, but I will put out some parting thoughts and wrap up the show Maybe no side nuggets for you, but it'll be good here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink garage beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage beer. Beer flavored beer. All right, welcome back into the program, and parting thoughts on this. Maybe some changes coming to the show here. We're working through some stuff. My man Schlegs today is out, and unrelated to that, he's got some family health things that he's attending to, and he needs to be taking care of that. And I appreciate that for him, and I want him to be able to do that stuff. So joined by AJ today, which was tremendous. But there may be some other things on the horizon for Schlegs moving forward, and so I've been talking to some different people that may be coming on to the show and maybe filling in for him. So I'm not ready to announce anything formally yet, but maybe some younger guys that could be joining us, and it should be a fun time because Schlegs and I played together, so we have a lot of commonalities, but it is fun to get guys that are cross-generational as well, and that way you can compare and contrast experiences of what that was ultimately like. But I will miss talking to my friend every single day as we do this, because that's what we get to do, is have a conversation, and then hopefully everybody gets to get involved and enjoy it as much as we do. That is it for today's show. We'll be back here tomorrow, so stay locked in here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.